personality of Godhead, Krishna, along with Balaram, lived in Vrajabhumi, Vrindavan, just to substantiate. Okay, everybody's ready? Jatayor now Mahadeve Bhuvi Vishveshware Harao Bhakti Syat Paramaloke Yajo Durgating Taret Vishveshware Harao Bhakti Shat Paramaloke Yanjo Durgatim Taret Jatayor now Mahadeve Vishveshware Harao
Bhakti Syat Paramaloke
Bhakti Shat Paramaloke Yanjo Gurudating Taret
Jatayor no Mahadeve
Jatayor now Mahadeve Vishveshware Harao Bhakti Syat Paramaloke Ayanjo Gurtim Taret Jatayor now Mahadeve Vishveshware Harao. Kyle. Bhakti Syat Paramaloke Gurgatim Taret Jatayor now Mahadeve Vishveshware Hara Bhakti Syat Paramaloke Ajanjo Durgatim Taret Tayaho. After we two have taken birth, now both husband and wife, Drona and Dara, Mahadeve, and the Supreme Person, the personality of Godhead, Bhuvi, on the earth, Vishva Ishware, and the master of all the planetary systems, Harao, and the Supreme Lord, Bhakti, devotional service, Syat, will be spread, Parama, the ultimate goal of life, Loke, in the world, Ya, by which, Anjaha, very easily, Durgatim, miserable life, Taret, one can avoid and be delivered. Translation. Drona and Dara said, please permit us to be born on the planet Earth, so that after our appearance, the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller and Master of all planets, will also appear and spread devotional service, the ultimate goal of life, so that those born in this material world may very easily die. Hare Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's followers. Okay, or yes, let's see. Yeah, actually it's Prabhupada. This statement by Drona clearly indicates that Drona and Dara are the eternal
Father
and
Mother
of
Krishna.
whenever there is a necessity of Krishna's appearance, Drona and Dara appear first. And then Krishna appears. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that his birth is not ordinary. Janma karma chame devyam. Ajopi san avyayatma. Bhutanam ishwaropi san. Prakriting swam adishtaya. Sambhavam yatma mayaya. Although I am unborn and my transcendent body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental. Chapter 4, which verse?
6.
Oh, some of you are cheating. Before Krishna's appearance, Drona and Dara appear in order to become his father and mother. It is they who appear as Nanda Maharaj and his wife Yashoda. In other words, it is not possible for a sadhana siddha living being to become the father or mother of Krishna, for Krishna's father and mother are already designated. But by following the principles exhibited by Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda and their associates, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, ordinary living beings, may attain such affection. Right. As exhibited by Nanda and Yashoda. When Drona and Dara were requested to beget plural children, they chose to come to this world to have the Supreme Personality of God as their son. Krishna. Krishna's appearance means paritranaya sadhunam vinasya chaduskritam. The devotees are protected, and the miscreants are they're what? Yeah, they are vanquished. Whenever Krishna comes, he distributes the highest goal of life, devotional service. He appears as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the same purpose, because unless one comes to devotional service, one cannot be delivered from the miseries of the world. Tukalyam ashashvatam, where the living beings struggle for existence. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 15:7, Mamayevangsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashastrindriyani prakritistani karishati. The living entities in this conditioned world are eternal fragmental parts. Because of conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The living entities are struggling to become happy. But unless they take to the bhakti cult, their happiness is not possible. Krishna clearly says, Ashradadhanu Purusha, Dharmasyasya Parantapa, Aprapyamangni Bharatante, Mrityu Sangsara Bharatmani. Those who are not faithful on this path of devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of foes, but return to the birth and death in this material world. That's from chapter 8, text 9, text 3. Foolish persons do not know how. Foolish persons do not know how risky life is here if does follow the instructions of the movement there has been started, so that by practicing KC, Krishna consciousness, one can avoid the risky life of this material existence. It is so. There is no question of accepting or not accepting Krishna consciousness. It is not optional, it is compulsory. If we do not take to
Krishna
consciousness, our life is very risky. Everything is explained in Bhagavad Gita. There, to learn how to become free, from the miserable condition of material existence. Bhagavad Gita, as it is the preliminary study. Then, if one understands the Bhagavad Gita, one can proceed to Srimad Bhagavatam. And if one advances, and can proceed to Srimad Bhagavatam. And if one advances further, one may study Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are therefore presenting these invaluable books to the whole world. So that people may study them and be happy. Okay, there was an echo there. Being delivered from miserable conditional life. Thank you very much, Bruce. Haribol. Y'all did really well. Y'all did really swell. Okay, the background of Vasudeva and Devaki, like the background of Yashoda and Nanda, are very auspicious. These two couples, they actually had a special request. We would like to see that the child born of us in the future will have a special status. Bhagavan. They performed very austerities, such as fasting and just eating, leaves that may have fallen from the ground. You don't even go and pick up the fresh leaves, but the ones that came down. That kind of stuff. That's what they did. But they were fortunate, both couples, and more so Nanda and Yashoda, to spend time with the Lord. Vasudeva and Devaki were frankly deprived. They didn't have much time, with their parents. And I don't know what it's like, but, we do know some people, they don't get to know their parents. Sometimes the kids are up for adoption and, the mother can't look after the child alone and things like that. Our famous Joni Mitchell, I don't know if you know her, she's from Saskatchewan. She's one incredible songwriter. And she's the one that wrote, "They paved paradise, put up a parking lot." You know that one? Okay, and if you don't, you can look it up. All right, I have to always insert something about the pop culture in the classes. I cannot help myself. But one of our boys, Michael O'Regan, he dated her, and he's no longer with us, but he's the one that made the teak wood doors upstairs, Michael, he was very, very, let's say, artistic. He wrote a play called The Advent about Krishna's birth. And he dated her, and he noticed that, there was something that she was hiding inside and that she was not happy about. Later on, decades later, she finds out 30, 40 years that her daughter that she put up for adoption because it was unacceptable to have a child, before marriage in conservative Saskatchewan. So all this while, she felt like she was missing something, And then her actual daughter, did an incredible search to find out, that the parent that she's missing has high cheekbones and a certain color of hair and all that. And finally, they found her, and she just kind of let her daughter go, and now they've found each other, and now ever since that time, she and her grandkids have been around. So, anyways, everybody knows the charming story and the depressing story, I should say, of Karna, who didn't know his mom and dad. Had he known, he might have got puffed up. The great eloquent Queen Kunti was his mother, and his father was Surya, the sun god. Like, wow, you can't get better than that. And one of them is a mortal, and the other one is a devata, or a celestial being, And like the other brothers of Karna, they were all sons of great, devatas, gods, and by mortal mothers, So those are the kind of things that went on in ancient times. We don't see that kind of stuff happening too much anymore. You don't see somebody, announcing to their mom and dad, guess what? I'm going steady with a demigod. It just doesn't happen. But there is great fortune in for what Yashoda and Nanda had experienced, being very close to the Lord, and they might be considered, like we discussed yesterday, the three kinds of people that come to Krishna or are with Krishna: the Nitya Siddhas, and the Sadhana Siddhas, and the Kripa Siddhas. These are the three different categories. And, Nitya Siddha, well, maybe not. Like even one of my godbrothers, he wrote a book on, his whole treatise was on Bhaktivinoda Thakur. His name's Shukavak, and he went to the University of Toronto. His professor, his teacher was Joseph T. O'Connell, and he wrote a book on Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And I remember talking to Shukavak. He said that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was converted. He wasn't a Vaishnava in the beginning. He was very much influenced by the British. He had Christian influences, Western influences. But then he, like thoughtful people, they try to find their origins. They want to find out about their ancestry. I wonder who my parents were. Were they members of some, let's say, nobility, or were they, were they members of the Ku Klux Klan or something like that? KKK, which doesn't stand for Krishna, 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 but something else. People are curious. They want to know their ancestry. And actually, I initiated one boy many years ago, and he's one of the first ones, and he didn't know who his father was, so we named him Karna. And then he went to see his father. There wasn't a real bond, there wasn't. The father got remarried, and he just had another family, and it just didn't go over very well, So I think it's really hard to imagine what that might be like. I mean, those of you who come from a good background, your parents are stayed intact. And it's not the case for everybody. The people that have joined the Hare Krishna movement, we have those two types, And I've noticed myself that those who come from like broken homes, they just have it a little more, life is a little tougher for them. It's just a fact. So if you're coming from a background where parents are loving and they've been with you, it's really a blessing. There's a groundedness there, so that's why family is important. And if any of you, anybody who comes from that kind of background, you know how much you suffered, so you don't want that to repeat that, when you become a parent. You want to, you'll just maybe struggle and try to make it work, I mean, the failure's on the part of two. It takes two to tangle, and it takes two to tango. So tango's the kind of dance. I mean, I'll be going to Buenos Aires, and I believe tango, that's very popular there. And then they're all over each other, So that's, and I think they have, like competitions and that type of thing. So it takes two to tango, or it takes two to tangle, Tango meaning, just not getting along. And so it makes a real effort. It takes talent, it takes some know-how. And, if you've had a reference point, everything's about referencing, isn't it? If you've seen your parents were loving, and some disagreed, but they resolved it. They agreed to disagree. They resolved in the end. Then you learn that. You learn to do that. You learn something positive from them. And sometimes when couples are, like say parents are just out to get each other at each other's throat. And it was very uncomfortable to see that. Then you might also be very intimidated and shy away from that kind of lifestyle. And you will make a very firm commitment. When I become a parent, I'm not going to let that happen, because it's like alcoholic parents, you saw the ugly side of it and said, I'm not going to let that happen to us. I'm not going to let that happen to my kids. So you have to have strong determination. Determination is one of the key factors behind being successful in devotional life. You know the story of the sparrow went for her eggs, and the ocean took the eggs and, brushed them away, and then she demanded to have the eggs back. She talked to the big ocean, and he was just laughing. Are you kidding me? She threatened, if you don't bring my eggs back, I'm just going to drink you up. I will drown you. And he was just laughing like crazy, So the ocean was hysterical, and then flying above was Garuda, and Garuda was wondering what's going on here. So he sort of landed, I don't know how he did it exactly, on the sandy beach, and then he said, "What's wrong, Sister Bird?" And he's a much bigger guy than she is, but says, "The ocean has taken my eggs, and I demanded them back, and he's not cooperating." Don't worry about a thing. So he goes in there, stands against the ocean, tall and strong and intimidating. Said, "You bring back those eggs, or else I'll dry you up." And then the ocean, whoops, okay, with a wave, he brought the nest back with the eggs, So assistance came to the little sparrow because she was very determined. If you're very determined about something, you've never heard the saying before, God helps those who help themselves. You've heard that? It applies. It really does. And the verse we were learning that you read, Tesham evan kampartam aham agyana jam tamaha. That's from chapter 10. You could look it up, actually. It's one of the verses that indicates very clearly that Krishna cares about you. He's seated in the heart, and he's lit up, and he's destroying the darkness of ignorance, the ignorances that we fall prey to. So that shows he really cares. Krishna's a caring person. Now, let's go to Vasudeva and Devaki. They didn't have that good fortune, but they did have a longing to see Krishna and Balaram, their sons. That longing means meditation, right? If you, have a thought, it could be a positive or a negative one, but it just means you're meditating, you're contemplating on something that's, here's the verse. Oh, there it was. Okay, so that's the Sanskrit. Let's look at the English. To show them special mercy and to show them love. I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So Krishna sits in the heart, and he says that quite a few times in the Gita. I'm sure you got it, right? And what's he doing there anyways? He's showing his love. He's watching with care, concern. We're waiting for the jiva soul to turn, instead of having his back to God, turn around and face God and go like that. God will approve, yeah. I have to tell you an interesting story. It's kind of mystical. And we have some very special people in this movement. And there's one, we were doing a production in Mayapur, our headquarters. We're doing the story of Bhishma. And the person who played Bhishma, we had him, as a young man, and then he gets older, so we had a fantastic beard, and we had a wig and everything like that. And, just before we started, the conch was about to blow, this one devotee came to me, the leading actor who plays Bhishma. He says, Maharaj, I don't know. I don't know where the beard and the wig is. I put it so it's gone, you know. So the anxiety was in there, and so one woman who was a clairvoyant, she came to, she knew and said, what's wrong here? You're missing something? I said, yeah, I'm missing the wig. And so she just kind of went through the back ways through the green room and all that. Is that what you're looking for? You know, I mean, she didn't even say what it was. I'm missing something, so I'll try to help you. And she found it was right there. And apparently the act before us, they just took it, they thought it was a rag. So she had this ability to, I know, okay. Then there's another story. I met her husband, and they didn't, the first time they met, it was in like one of those South Indian temples, in Madurai, I think it was. Anybody ever heard of that? So there's a big crowd, and this guy is looking at a place where he can sit. He was European or American, I can't remember. So he sees this lady, it's a Western woman, and this same woman, the clairvoyant, the person had these special powers. And he said, oh, in his mind he was thinking, here's somebody who's very nice, you know, maybe I'll get a chance to meet her. He was thinking that, he was just thinking that. And when he thought that, she goes, that's incredible, right? I just forget their names. But, you know, Krishna will give a nod of approval. Yes, now we're doing things right. Now you're looking at me. You don't have your back on me, you know, and but you're actually facing me now. That means surrender, right? Krishna, you know, it's like that, you know, just being able to see God, and you always are able. I was listening to a tape last night where Prabhupada's talking to devotees, and then one of the devotees says, Prabhupada, have you ever seen demigods? And you know, you can't imagine how long was the answer. It wasn't like abrupt, or he didn't cut him off or anything. Even if I did, what does it mean to you? You know, he was saying, why don't you ask a question that's pertinent, like what means something to you, you know, has real bearing in your life, you know. If I did or did not, Prabhupada kept going and went on and on and on with a whole new, he already gave a class, and this devotee asked the question, he gave his second class after this. You know, so those are the kind of things that do happen. We have to have confidence that Krishna is there with us, and he's seated in the heart. Sarva Shachanda, Bridi Sadvishta, Matasmritira Jnanam, Apohanam Cha. That's in chapter 15, text 15. You can look that one up too. That's a good one. Okay? The Lord says he's seated in the heart of everyone, and he is, let's say, influencing the soul. He's influencing the soul to the point where he can now allows you to remember him. He can give you wisdom about him, or you to forget him. You know, that's the power, the influence that God has in the heart. The second part of the verse is somewhat connected, but I mean, it almost could be stand on its own. Udaisya sarvayar aham eva vidya vedanta krid veda eva chaham. By the Vedas I am to be known. I'm the compiler of the Vedanta. I'm the knower of the Vedas. You know, we've heard that before. If you want to know who your father is, who do you check with? You check with your mother. And of course, sometimes she's sometimes confused because she's had a lot of lovers, you know. Well, which one? I think that's the basis of the story Mamma Mia, the musical. Well, anyways, Mamma Mia, which one? And so she wasn't really sure. So the girl who was getting married now, she invited all the supposed men who could be her father. She couldn't choose one, so three of them came. They were all invited. That's a funny story. Yeah. So what's her origin? Well, you can check with your mother. She likely knows. She likely knows. So the Vedas are our mother and Krishna is the father. You want to know who's Bhagawan, who is God, you check with the Vedas. The Vedas will tell you. Of course, there are other scriptures. People get a little confused about that. Was Jesus God? A lot of Christians say no. Was Muhammad God? No, they say he's a prophet. And in one sense, it doesn't matter. There's just some religions, they just get in each other's cases because they say something slightly different. But is it really that important? Which status you have? Are you an avatar? What kind of does it really matter? Shakti Vesh avatar, Gun avatar, Yuga avatar. It almost doesn't matter. It's does the individual who's supposed to be being posed as God, is he showing the qualities of God? And one of the qualifications of God is that you be able to show the universal form. We've been talking about the universal form. So I have to tell you something that's funny. We were on Yonge Street, myself and two other devotees that were Young and Dundas, and we were distributing books, we were chanting and so on like that. And the police were giving us a hard time. They're not like that anymore, but they had to learn. They were sort of inexperienced. So they put us in jail, and they asked us all kinds of questions. We didn't really do anything wrong, but somehow or other, my name showed it that I have done some crime in the past. So they let the other two brahmacharis go, and I had to go to prison. So I had to spend time in a cell with a bunch of people, 12 to 15, 20. And it's going to be determined what cell you're going to be in. So we were all waiting, and these prisoners were saying, "You're Hare Krishna, aren't you?" I said, "Well, what are you doing in here? I thought you were good people." And then there was one particular guy who's young, and he said, "I'm Krishna, I'm God." And I challenged him. I said, "Well, if you're God, can you show the universal form then?" And this was his answer. He must have read Prabhupada's books. He said, I can do so at my own sweet will. Not because you're asking, but when I want to, I'll do it. And I said, oh my God, Krishna, gee, these kind of people. And I remember one guy who was sitting on the chair, sex. He was just chanting sex. But, it should be Krishna, right? But nobody ever trained him properly. So somebody comes along and says, I'm Bhagawan. You can test them. He said, when are you on schedule to present your Virat Roop, your universal cosmic form? And, see what they say. It's easy to make proclamations. I'm God. Just like pop stars, they say, I'm the queen of soul, or I'm the king of pop, or I'm it's their self-declarations, And I says, really? What gave you the power to say that or do that, And, behind it is there's a bit of ego there for sure. But people who do have egos, they do think there's some kind of God, some kind of special person. When I was born, the world was blessed. The country that I live in is sacred because of me, because I live there, It's affiliated with, anything affiliated with me, it's got to be divine, And so there are these big egos that people have, And, but big egos put you into a difficult spot. Another thing that's said in chapter 10, it is said even the rishis and the devatas, they're bewildered about their own origin. You can look it up, I think it's the beginning of chapter 10, but somewhere in the beginning, 1 or 2 or somewhere in there. I'm trying to recall the shloka as well. But if they're bewildered, they don't know, sorry, this avatar keeps falling down. If they're bewildered, then what to speak of us? You know, what to speak of us? When I was walking in the Netherlands, one of my relatives, he came with a book this thick of our family tree. It goes back 500 years, our lineage. This from the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's amazing. They got pictures of the last 100 years. They do have a picture of me as a devotee. So have we found it out?
Here, Maharaj, it's here.
Okay. So can we get this Sanskrit? Okay. Yeah. Na me vidu suragana. Sura means demigod, right? Vidu or like vidur means to know. He knows. He's very wise. Vidur. Vid, and it comes from the root word vid. Prabhavam namaharshayaha. That refers to rishis, right? Great rishis. Okay. I am dear. I am the let's see. Devanam. Adir refers to an origin. Maharshi not just Sarvashaha. So there has to be a negative somewhere. It's that out cancels out. The word has to cancel out that you know. You don't know. You don't. So if that's the case with demigods and sages, they don't know their origin. They are bewildered because really they haven't landed upon the solid ground of bhakti. Therefore, they stay bewildered. I am the source of the demigods and sages, but they don't know that I'm the Father. Aham Bita Pradapita. Krishna is the Father. So let's get it right. Let's get it down. In fact, he says he's the mother too. So he's both parents, Krishna's mom and dad. Of course, we know Radha is in there. Just to get down to the fine details, hair-splitting dynamics, we know that Radha is the original form of all feminine deities, right? Feminine personalities. Okay, so just to conclude, it's good to know your origin. It's good to know where you come from, but it's not always known by the rank and file person. So therefore we study and we get to learn, well, Krishna's the original Father. That's one of the reasons why he comes here to this world. To say, I'm here, I've been around, but I've come here to clear up the doubts that you have. The doubts about your origin. That's fine. Okay, anybody have any questions or comments? Have you ever met somebody like that who can find things and knows the future and prophesize? Okay, go ahead.
Maharaj, when we were reading the translations, there was one verse which the translation goes like, Nand Maharaj was kind of equal as Bhagavan. Can you put that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Because sometimes the surrendered souls they're never God, because Mama Evangsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. They are parts and parcels, they're not whole. But still, they're honored and respected like God on the strength of their bhakti, their devotion. So we have even somebody like Narada Muni, he's sometimes referred to as Bhagavan, right? Bhagavan. And and other persons like was it Kunti, just some. They are just very, very respected because of the strength of their bhakti. So sometimes they're referred to like God, not God, but like God. I mean, let's say they've got the same mindset as God. And what is God's mindset? It is to spread Krishna consciousness. Just share the glories of Krishna. Krishna's here to share his glories, to let him know who he is. And for the devotee, it's the same thing. It doesn't mean we're God, though. It just means we have the same drive. We have the same intent. The Christians say, the Father and I are one. That means the Father and the Son have the same interest. Just like the Father and the Son, they like playing hockey. They're the same kind of like hobbies and interests like that. But it doesn't mean they're really the same. But they carry the same mood, right? The same intent. That's very important. Yes.
Bhagavatam explains, and Krishna himself also says that he's God of all, like the supreme God, and we read about him, which
He's the Deva Jagatpate,
yes,
God of all gods.
and in Golok Vrindavan, spiritual world, Nand Maharaj and Yashoda, they are eternally present. So doesn't it contrast, like Dronadhara, they became Nand Maharaj and Yashoda?
Yes, they have that sentiment. Any of us, once we get liberated, it will be revealed what is your Swarup Siddhi. And that means, do you have a parental relationship with the Lord? Is it conjugal? Is it like a sakya, like a friendly relationship? Or master-servant? Or neutrality? 5 major. So you get to know what is your natural relationship with Krishna. One of the major 5 that we just mentioned.
So
It's hard to know now.
So in Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan, Drona and Dhara, they are not present.
They're not present. You're talking about as they're present. We're talking about a previous life.
But like there is no previous life in the spiritual world.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, this is, we're talking about, just like Narada Muni, he's also in the spiritual world. He can be in the material world, but he had previous lives. Yeah. If you're, the question you have is, are they permanently situated like that? But somewhere in the background, they had another existence and they rose up to the level. Like even the cowherd boys, the Gopas and the Gopis, not all of them were eternally there. Some of them, evolved to the point of becoming liberated souls.
So
By what's called Krita Punna Punya, through piety, through incredible devotion, they exercised, they got to this status.
So it's possible there was a point when Krishna had no mother, but then a devotee.
That Krishna had no mother.
Is
Well, it's unlimited how many mothers and fathers he can have. It's not the monopoly of one couple. Yeah, maybe it's a chinta, it's a little inconceivable, a little hard to understand those dimensions. But they are pastimes. And where somebody like Nanda and Yashoda and Vasudeva and Devaki, where they land, where they end up, is into that relationship which is very solid and doesn't change. I mean, Krishna also, he was young, right? And he grew up to be a mature adult.
Well, like in spiritual world.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I could just say you can continue to be mystified. Anything else for Bruce? Okay, then just any highlights, anything you want to takeaways from our discussion, our talk? Was there something you liked? Yeah, what's the takeaway? Go ahead.
It's good to know our origin.
Yeah, it's good to know our origin. That's good. Yeah, excellent. Anything else? Mhm.
You said that when we are determined, then assistance will come.
When we
When we are determined,
determine assistance will come. That's a good point. Very good. That's very relevant to our situation. Mhm. What else?
As Srimad Bhagavatam is different from Ishvara Maya, so that she could
Different
see the whole
from?
universe.
I'm sorry?
As Srimad Bhagavatam is different from Ishvara Maya.
From Yashoda Mai?
Yeah, she is being a gopi, and he could show the whole universe to Ishvara Maya, but we can see. Yes, Srimad Bhagavatam. Can we see the whole universe like this? Like something with Ishvara Maya and Srimad Bhagavatam.
Well, Yashoda Mai, she's in the Bhagavatam. What about we mentioned another key factor in being successful in Krishna consciousness? What is that word, that one word? Hint, hint. Yes, you have to be very determined to be successful. You have to be very single-pointed, not many-branched. Does anybody know that verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2? Not to be many-branched, but to be very single-pointed. Yeah, do you remember it? Yavayasayatmika buddhi. Yeah, your intelligence has to be very, very focused. Yeah. Very determined. Yeah. Anything else that take away? Yes.
I like the point you mentioned about the lady, and
Yeah.
I mean my takeaway would be the knower of your field in
Mm.
that sense.
Yeah, she was the knower of other fields too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To have that gift, that's pretty incredible. You can help a lot of people through there, especially if you've lost something. Anything else? Pita G's. Okay. Anyways, if I don't get to see you all, we'll be back next week. We're going to Buenos Aires, where people tango. It's spring there now, and the robins are out. They're just out like crazy at this time.
What is that, huh?
Robins. That's in Argentina. It's south of the equator. So it's spring there now. They have these amazing flowering purple trees. They're tall. Yes.
When do you leave?
When do I leave this? This is evening, early evening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be around to pester you all before I go. All right, so I guess we can put